That'll be a story for Thrive, though. Yeah. Imagine selling your company for $1 billion and then getting it back. I don't even think she bought it back. She got it back because they violated a term of the contract.
Run for cover. Dropping knowledge. From the people who have it to the people who need it. The real Brad Lea is dropping
What it is, Brad Lea back again with another episode of Dropping Bombs. Today in the studio, folks, I've got a couple of treats for you. Battle-tested soldiers in the entrepreneurial war, Cole Hatter and Dan Fleyshman. Welcome to the show. Now, if you guys haven't heard of these two, look them up on IG or any social media, at Cole Hatter and at Dan Fleyshman, F-L-E-Y-S-H-M-A-N. Dan Fleyshman is the youngest fool ever to be the CEO of a company that went public, so he's been winning for a long time. Helps all kinds of entrepreneurs, puts on free events left and right, amasses people. Then he partnered up with Cole Hatter. If you guys don't know Cole, you know, he's got a whole story. You were a fireman or some shit.
Yeah.
Now he's a big entrepreneur, real estate, but he throws an event coming up, isn't it? Next weekend?
Well, virtual Thrive, yeah.
Virtual Thrive. It's usually in person.
Right.
I think you have subconscious anxiety for doing it virtual because you keep wanting to promote that it's virtual.
Yeah, I mean, we've never done it virtual before, as you know. We usually do it here in Vegas at that casino right there. Yeah, we had 1,500 people. We had 2,000 people coming this year, and so it's a big conference. I imagine a lot of the people listening to this have been there at least once of the 5 years we've done it. And so this is our first time going virtual. Thank you, coronavirus. But we're going to make it unique and special, and it's going to be the best. You know, it was the best in-person conference. Now it'll be the best virtual conference.
And you're going to do it right. You're going down to the Hubble studio in L.A., where all the rock stars go. Movie stars, rock stars.
Yeah, well, Dan's a rock star. And so when we talked about partnering on this one, he said, we gotta do it at Hubble. And I was like, I've never heard of this place before. I went up there, checked it out. It's pretty cool. And there's a lot of celebrities that use the space for various things. So I feel like we've got the street cred. We look cool. And now it's just time to produce. But
it's a 3-day event, man. It's almost a spectacle. Like you're gonna watch, be involved, interactive, the whole bit. People can talk. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's actually literally what I was just on the phone with, investing in some crazy technology right now that will make it, although you're virtual, you're at home, incredibly interactive. And because obviously for me personally, why I attend events and don't just produce them is the networking. It's to meet people. Obviously you love to learn something from stage and maybe a speaker gives you a nugget or two, but it's getting to meet people in person that you were just talking about right before we recorded this, a guy that hit you up on social media, flew down here, and now you're doing $1 million a month in revenue. And those types of conversations and interactions happen at in-person events. Can't do that virtually, but we're going to do some pretty special things to create that same experience of people being able to meet one another, exchange ideas, exchange contact info, follow up, and then obviously, you know, pursue business. Because that one random DM you got from that one random guy flew down here, and now, I mean, that's 8 figures in revenue a year. And so that stuff is why I think in-person events will never go away. A lot of people are saying that right now, like, oh, they'll never come back. People are never going to want to all be together. Maybe some people will stop attending events and stop going to sporting events. But I think right now, obviously, things are very blown out of proportion. But in a year or two, I think the world will look a lot like it used to as far as people congregating and not being afraid of germs and hanging out. And in the meantime, we've got to evolve. And I pushed it back. I was like, nope, I'm just going to wait it out. This thing's going to go away, and we're going to do Thrive just like we meant to do it. But you know, I can't sit on the sidelines forever. So you're forced to evolve. And so if I'm going to enter into the virtual space, that's why I partner with Dan over here. I don't want to do it like everyone else. I want to do it better, just like we did Thrive.
And you get tickets at attendthrive.com. These are $1,000+ tickets that you're doing for like what, $50 or something?
Yeah, the executive ticket's $49, and
damn,
and the VIP is $149. Yeah, because I mean we have such less cogs. I mean, dude, when I'm here on the strip, we're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars just on the stage alone, not to mention everything else. And obviously that goes away dramatically with a virtual event. So instead of profit, you know, gouging or whatever you'd call it, like a lot of people are doing, where they're still selling their tickets at their in-person, you know, price points without having the cost of producing the event. Dan and I were like, dude, let's make this available for anyone who wants it. And if you're listening to this and you can't come up with $49, you probably shouldn't be an entrepreneur then, not to be rude. But anybody who wants this can come. And so that's why we did it the way we're doing it.
Yeah, borrow it from your grandma. You don't even need to get a new outfit. You can wear your underwear. And that's attendthrive.com, and it's powered by $100 million mastermind, isn't it?
100millionacademy.com. We powered the event because we've got so many big speakers. Because Thrive for the last 5 years has all these speakers like Brad Lea up on stage all the time. And so what we decided was, why don't we take the Thrive speakers with the 100 Million Academy speakers, put them all together, and we have a laundry list of big name speakers.
Yeah.
I mean, you can
Ridiculous.
Ridiculous, yeah. And so that's it, man. So Dan, as you said in his intro, has been producing his elevator events, 38 of them now, completely free. He spent $400,000 a year on average creating events for the world for free. Thrive, we went a different direction. We're a paid event, but
it's basically free, $49.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah, it's free now.
But even in the in-person events, I mean, I would have some of our mutual friends harass me because I was 1/3 the price they were and my event was twice as good. So Thrive has always been a for-purpose event. We don't pitch, we don't sell. We are just there to teach people how to run companies that make the world a better place, bring in the best speakers to do so. And so it's always been a mission-based event. And so, partnering with Dan made a lot of sense again. And again, that price point of $49. Honestly, we were talking about making it completely free. The only reason we're charging anything is to get people to commit. It doesn't take any effort to just say, okay, I'll go and put in a name and an email and then forget that you had even registered for it and no one shows up to our event. Literally the only reason, what's the magic behind $49, Cole? Nothing. It's just enough money that
show up.
Yeah, we just think people will show up. We're going to give all the money to Dan's charity anyway. We don't need $49 times thousands of people. We'll give it all to his nonprofit.
Damn, you guys are some ballers. I need that shit.
Oh, yeah, $49. I mean,
dude, 49 times 1,000?
Well,
That's $50K.
Yeah, sure.
Hand it over.
Yeah.
He raised me $250,000 in like 12 minutes at his last last Thrive event.
Yeah, Dan was a part of that. Or Brad, you were, I think. Or maybe that was 2 years ago. That was Claire's place.
That was the year before.
Yeah, you screwed Dan.
$250,000 in 12 minutes.
Yeah.
It was mind-boggling because we were like at zero, and he's just like, "Hey, jump up on stage real quick." 12 minutes later, they had a big, humongous check for $250,000 to my charity.
Well, I donate my Cameo money to your charity, so I think you might have got $100 last year.
I like it. Wait, can you go over some of the speakers that we have?
Yeah,
Yes.
Who are the speakers? Because you guys could probably get anybody you want. There's only so many slots, so much time. Who's speaking?
Let's start with the ladies. So Cindy Eckert was a young lady that actually Dan introduced me to, who exited her company for $1 billion.
Damn.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And then bought it back.
Yeah, and then that'll be a story for Thrive though. Yeah, imagine selling your company for $1 billion and then getting it back. I don't even think she bought it back. She got it back because they violated a term of the contract and ended up getting $1 billion exit and then her company back. Crazy story that she'll be telling at Thrive. And then the other lady that sold it for $1 billion.
Oh yeah, Jamie Kern Lima. And we have Eric Thomas.
Yeah, Eric Thomas, ET, hip hop preacher, #1 motivational speaker on the planet. He's coming.
Billie Jean.
Billie Jean. We've got Tom Bilyeu.
Yep.
I can't think of everybody. I got to pull up the website. Tarek El Moussa from Flip or Flop on TV. He's a business partner of mine.
My partner Joe Marion's flying in.
Yeah, Joel Marion
Cross country to come out here for it.
has a 9-figure company. This one guy probably no one's ever heard of, Brad Lea.
Brad Lea.
He's got this little outfit out in Vegas he runs, does all right. But we got a lot of people that we're going to be announcing this week as well. And so, again, having ran Thrive for 5 years, have thousands of DMs over the years of people saying, man, I wish I could come, but I live in blah, 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 and I just can't afford a ticket, a flight, and a hotel. And we do our best to sponsor individuals every year. But I am excited to finally be able to give anyone who wants it the Thrive experience. From anywhere in the world, you have internet access. It doesn't matter where you are. If you got internet access, you log in, you're there.
Yeah, I'm following these dudes because they always do giveaways leading up to, but you will only have like a week left. So it's the 18th and 19th.
16, 17, and 18, yeah.
16, 17, 18. Next week, folks, get your tickets at attendthrive.com. Now, my question is, what's the meaning behind Thrive?
So, long backstory. I'm sure if you go back 50, 60 episodes of Dropping Bombs, you can hear the origin story in one of our previous interviews. But the Cliff Notes version is I did well in business from 2005, 2008, lost everything in that recession because I was investing in real estate, flipping houses, didn't know what I was doing. Did real well when real estate's going up like everybody did, right? Then when real estate was going down, I lost it all. Became a missionary, lived in Mexico.
Missionary, hold on. Like Mormon?
Christian, yeah. Christian. I moved down to Mexico to be a Christian missionary. True story. And I joined a nonprofit called YWAM, Youth with a Mission. And my job, by the way, when you're a missionary, you actually have to raise support and pay your way. No one's paying you. So I went down there and lived off what little bit I had left of my savings to build houses for homeless families. And then I, at the same time, started an orphanage. And that's where the concept of Make Money Matter came from. I'm living in a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom apartment with 3 other Mexican dudes. It's like $200 a month to live there. So like my money was lasting, but I started taking care of these kids. And by the time I got to like 11 kids, I couldn't afford it anymore. So I was going to do the missionary thing, go back to America, find rich guys like you two and say, hey, you're busy running your companies. Why don't you just send me $500 a month and know that it's to a good cause because I'm taking care of these kids. And when I started thinking about that, the entrepreneur in me was like, nah, man, I can't just ask someone to give me money without there being a true value exchange. Obviously, the philanthropic feeling of contributing is worth it for a lot of people who are charitable. But at the same time, I don't want to just go collect money to pay my bills so I can take care of these orphans. So I thought about it and I was like, I'm just going to go back to America. I'm going to restart the companies that I used to run pre-recession that went out of business. I'm going to start them back up. I'm going to get richer than I ever was. But this time I'm not just going to make money. I'm going to make my money matter. I'm going to go back there and get rich so I can take care of these kids. And that way I don't have to ask Brad to support me. I'll just sell you something. Oh, I got a bomb. So instead of asking for support, I'm going to sell you something. And then Tom's Shoes was blowing up at this point. This was like 2010, and Tom's Shoes was becoming like mainstream at this point. And I was looking at his model. For every pair of shoes he sold, he gave a pair away at this time. And I was like, that's perfect. He's not just getting rich and writing checks to charity. He built a business model around giving back. That's brilliant. That's what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. So came back to America. 2011, I was living in Mexico. I think I said that. As I was a missionary, I was living in Mexico, came back to America, started my companies, made millions of dollars, made them for purpose, and then started talking about it on podcasts. People started blowing me up and saying, how do I run a company like that? And that's what was the original birth of Thrive. So long answer to your question, what's the meaning or the message behind it? It's to take people who are, whether you're broke or balling, know that there's more to life than just making money. And you want to work hard, but attach that effort to something that's making a measurable difference in the world. It's fun to have record-breaking quarters and making tons of money and buying red Ferraris like you've gotten stuff. But at the same time, one of the line items, one of the measurements in your company every quarter or however you look at your KPIs should be what type of a global impact are we making? And so, you know, for me, my wife and I are passionate about I guess you'd say human rights, not civil rights necessarily like voting, but human rights. Like we work with Pencils of Promise to build schools because we believe that it's a human right to have an education. We work with Underground Railroad to help women and children, who are victims of human trafficking get their freedom because we believe as a human you should be free. So human rights we fight for, and our businesses fund these initiatives. And then Thrive, we teach people how to not just crush it. I mean, Dan, you're going to be speaking at Thrive. Dan, and obviously Brad, you as well. Dan's going to be speaking a lot at this Thrive. That's actually going to be cool. We need to talk about how many times you're going to speak. But we're going to be teaching you guys how to crush it in business in a business model that gives back. And so that's what makes Thrive very unique. And that's why, you know, we raised $250,000 for Dan at our last Thrive because we want to put our money where our mouth is, literally, and say, hey, instead of pitching you guys crap from stage and selling you a bunch of stuff, we're just going to raise money and give it to charity. So that was the Cliff Note version there. Again, if you want more, go back to Dropping Bob's episode, whatever it was. But that's it. I literally wanted to feed these orphans, and I was running out of the money that I had left from my businesses failing. That little few $1,000s I had was almost gone. And I came back to America to just make money to feed my kids. And here we are running events of thousands of attendees that teach them how to do it.
Not just thousands of attendees, but thousands of generous attendees. People that like actually want to make the world a better place, which is why I kind of like Thrive, the Thrive event.
Dude, the best part, bro, at this point, because we've been doing it so long, like proof of concept, do you know how many hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of stories I have from people saying, Cole, I'm in Houston, I own a pool business, I turned it into for purpose, and now I feed 1,200 kids a day every single day, right? And that's a real story of my buddy Tommy. I mean, there's so many stories of people that took their existing businesses, turned them for purpose, and are now flooding me with testimonials, not just that they're making more money, because those testimonials are cool, and I get a lot of those. Oh, that thing Brad Lea said, I used it. I'm making an extra $80,000 a month now, which is actually a story of someone you're going to meet next weekend in LA that you're helping them make an extra $80,000 a month with something. I was like, are you sure it was Brad Lea that said this? They're sure. So look at that, right?
Yeah, there's a nugget in there somewhere now and again.
Yeah, exactly. So these people like to learn how to make money, and I love those testimonials. But the ones that like make me keep doing this, because events suck. Like, let's be honest. Maybe a little bit controversial, but anybody out there who's being honest with themselves that produces events, they suck. They're not fun. It's the result, whether it be for events that are selling stuff, the money you make, or in our experience, the impact we get to make. And what makes it worth it is when I get countless DMs and emails from people saying, just want to let you know, I went to Thrive a year or two ago. I turned my business for a purpose. And as a result, all of this has happened. And it's like, dude, the impact Thrive has made on the world is immeasurable, because we have no idea how many ripple effects and stories are out there that haven't even made it back to us from people that were sitting in our audience, saw a concept, used it, and then are now changing the world.
Not only that, but like, you're living proof. I mean, you were just broke as hell, living with a small penis, and now you're making millions of dollars. And every time I see you, you're in board shorts and flip flops. I think this is the first time I saw you in jeans in about 2 years.
I was literally wearing board shorts and flip flops last night while Dan was gambling $4,000 in like 8 seconds, and I was freezing. So this morning I put pants on for that one reason. But don't worry, I'm gonna go switch back into the board shorts in just a second.
Now, the Thrive event's powered by 100 Million Academy.
Yeah.
Now, what's that about?
So 100 Million Academy essentially we have a $100,000 mastermind, and we wanted to make something for everybody.
And by the way, folks, just so you know, $100,000 mastermind simply means it costs you $100,000 to get in. How many people got into that?
Exactly 100. We sold out.
So that's why it's 100 million mastermind.
Yes.
Mastermind. $100,000, folks. When you spend $100,000 to get in a group and everyone has to spend the $100K, you know you're in the right crowd.
Oh yeah, it was cool.
And so we had that group, but once we sold out those 100 spots, that was it. There's nothing else. Nobody else can come in. And so we wanted to figure out a way to help the masses. And so we made a $100 a month version, powered by lightspeedvt.com. Thank you very much.
You know that's right.
Actually, everything I do is powered by Lightspeed, just to throw that out there.
Good.
So 100 Million Academy essentially is a $100 a month version. And you can learn everything from these main instructors. But then we also have dozens of other instructors. It's about 300 hours of content on 100 Million Academy. And then every single day at 6 p.m. we go live. So we're like a news anchor or a TV station every day at 6 p.m. and we've never missed it once, knock on wood, for the last year. And so the idea was, if we take 100 Million Academy, we have so many speakers that are on there teaching content, and we combine it with Thrive, that's how the magic could happen. And next weekend's the big night.
Yeah, so now let's go back a little bit, old Mr. Fleyshman, for you, because I've known who you were, but you were already who you were, and when I found out about you, who were you before all this nonsense? Like, what's your story?
So, yeah, I just grew up, we didn't have any money, so I always was working and hustling. First buying and selling baseball cards on the swap meet, then working 3 jobs during high school. But then when I was 17, I trademarked the catchphrase, "Who's your daddy?" for over 300 products. Actually, at the Venetian was my very first convention 21 years ago.
So when someone said, "Who's your daddy?" you think, I'm going to protect that? That's a phrase everyone will.
I owned
you,
it. I
you
used
just
to
knew
own
to
it.
do
I
it.
used to own it for everything.
You probably owe him money right now because you said it twice.
Yeah, especially on a podcast. Yeah, we could get a lot.
Yeah.
So essentially, we trademarked it for clothing, barbecue sets, diapers, sexual products, anything you could think of. We trademarked it for.
Sexual products?
Oh, yeah.
You had the "Who's your daddy" dildo?
We
The
licensed it out.
strap-on that you use on yourself, Brad. Yeah, that's the one.
Hey, now. See, now no one's going to forward this to 1 million and more people to attend Thrive.
Listen, they love you with all of your sexual exploits. We're fine with it.
You know, I don't know if you guys know, but I'm going to elevate dropping bombs next season and just, eliminate the vulgarity.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, good luck.
Can we bet?
Yeah.
Yeah, how much you want to bet?
I'm in.
Well, because again, it's rising up the ranks like it's a crazy, crazy thing that's happening. And I'm looking at Joe Rogan going, shit, if he can get 100 million, maybe I can get 10.
Well, maybe.
You
So
never know.
how-
But what someone told me, the cuss words and the vulgarity sometimes prevents them from sharing. And I'm like, oh, that makes sense. Maybe I better quit doing it. So they'll share more often and grow more rapidly.
Good luck.
Everyone needs to share this out, folks, because let me tell you something. Whether you're in sales or whether you're an entrepreneur or whether you're a housewife or house husband, nowadays there's a lot of house husbands. Wives are working.
So that's my goal, actually. My wife and I, we have the 2-year plan for me to be a stay-at-home dad.
Yeah. Well, you're the perfect one for it.
Oh man, I just sit by the pool, drink beer. I told my wife, if I'm a stay-at-home dad, we're gonna have maids and all butlers and the whole deal. She's like, that doesn't count. I was like, you're just mad you didn't think of it when you were a stay-at-home mom.
So
Convention and at the Venetian, I'm 17 years old. We end up doing $1 million in orders out of our little 20-foot booth. And we
now,
thought-
now, is that the first taste of money?
Yeah, I mean, I was working at the stadium selling peanuts and Cracker Jacks the week before, and working at Ruby's Diner with a freaking sailor hat on the week before. And so we do $1 million in orders, except we don't have a manufacturer to make $1 million in orders. We had like some little T-shirt shop that was making our stuff. So I just figured it out. I drove to LA and I went door to door to warehouses, and I finally found a guy who knew a guy. And that guy happened to own the rights for Fender guitars, all their apparel. And he owned English Laundry, like the fancy button-up shirts. And he'd sold it for like $120 million. So I'm still very close with them to this day. But basically, that guy changed my life. That mentor changed my life because we moved into his warehouse, and his son, who's still one of my best friends, he went on the road with me to help me sell. And we sold into 6 major department stores. The dad got us a $9.5 million deal when I was 19 years old, just for the UK. He licensed our brand name out for $9.5 million. And so that helped us through the roller coasters. Because roller coasters meaning people would take advantage of us, people wouldn't ship us our clothing, people would ask for $150,000 for something and then disappear. We went through these roller coasters being 19, 20, 21 years old. And so that money kept coming in from the UK that kept helping us on this roller coaster. Then when I was 23 years old, we took it public on the stock market. That's when the life changed. Because
With you as CEO.
yes.
Because again, if I ever went public, I'd have to step down. they're not
Because you're too vulgar. See?
Yeah. Well, not only that, I don't have the degrees. It's just like, they look for the leadership, and if they looked at Lightspeed's leadership, they'd be like, well, that guy, we're not going to do this. Old Brad Lee's involved. He's a loose cannon. So do you have a bunch of degrees and shit?
Yeah, from high school.
But that's it.
A PhD.
So you just said screw it and
Public
stayed
high
there
school
anyway.
diploma.
So go public. We raised $3.75 million that day. I then take that money to launch the energy drink. And so the energy drink, it's all still under the same brand name. There was 900 drinks on the market, but I felt like there was one big thing missing. They just didn't taste good. All energy drinks tasted like cough syrup because they all used the same exact ingredient that made it feel like cough syrup. So I said, well, my favorite drink is Gatorade. That was my favorite tasting drink. I'm going to find the chemist from Gatorade. And so he happened to live in Orange County. I went and found this guy.
Yeah, he did. Because only badasses live in Orange County.
This guy's like 70-something years old. He's infinitely rich because he was getting like 1/8 of a penny from these bottles. And we get there, and I remember it was at like a TGI Fridays, and he puts out 30 cups. They're all those little white cups, like little shot cups. He says, if you find my favorite drink, I've never told this story before. If you find my favorite drink, I'll license it to you for 1 year. If you hit $1 million in sales, then you can have it in perpetuity and just give me a little piece. For some reason, I see this red one. I reach for that one. I taste that one, and have my partner taste the other half of it. I said, that's it. He's like, you're sure? You didn't even try the other ones. I said, no, that's it. He's like, well, do you think I'm tricking you? Do you think they're all the same flavor? I said, I don't care. That's it. It's like a cranberry pineapple. And he just looked, he like turned white. He's like, no, that's it. You were right. And I have this magical moment still in my head from 20 years ago. That moment, I was just all in. That was it. I didn't know that was it. I just felt like that pretty red drink was going to be it. So
This is crazy.
we ended up hitting the $1 million in 3 months because I didn't sleep. For those by the way, for 4 years, I sincerely can't tell you anything. From 23 to 27, I don't remember a single night. All I did was sell. I drove and flew. There was no social media. I drove and flew to 43 distributors, and we got into 55,000 retail stores, and I went there myself. I literally went to every distributor by myself.
Well, you still haven't stopped that. Like every single event I see, Dan Fleyshman is giving his time. Why is that? What were you homeless or something? Because you also have the backpack deal,
Model Citizen Fund?
Model Citizen Fund, where you basically just fill up a backpack full of like $100, $200 worth of supplies and drop them off to homeless folks.
I mean, it was essentially, when you have 24 grand a year for a family of 4 in LA, you're basically homeless. And so I just knew what it was like to have
Nothing.
And then when my parents got divorced, we moved into like a 85-year-old lady's extra room. Me and my mom sleeping in the same room for the first couple of years. after the divorce. So I just know what it's like to not have any money and still have to like, I don't know how you say it. Like I still wanted to live a life and be entrepreneurial. And so that's why I still don't stop. Like I'm just relentless because of that. I think I couldn't even imagine retiring. Like if Brad Lea said, you know what, Dan, congratulations, you got 36 companies. I'll buy them all for $1 billion, but you got to go sit on a beach. I would turn you down. If I'm not allowed to go do something else, I would turn you down every time, and I'll pass a lie detector test right now. I couldn't just sit on a beach. It sounds cool for a week.
Yet
for a weekend.
or ever?
I don't know.
Because that sounds mighty good to me.
I was like, thank God I got 3 pairs of board shorts in my backpack.
Yeah, I mean,
I could do it for a weekend. I think.
Well, out of everything you've learned from all the people you've learned it from, if you had to condense it down to 3 keys, 3 factors of success that you left with your kids, and it's like there's only one chance they succeed if they take and execute on these 3 tidbits, what would those be?
First one is just get started. Too often people just think about stuff for 6 months, a year, 2 years, 5 years, and just get started. That's actually, when I signed my book, I've only signed it with those 3 words every single time. Just get started. Second one is sign contracts with everyone, including your mom. And it's not that you're ever going to sue your mom, right? It's just most relationships, whether it's husbands and wives, children, employees, bosses, contractors, vendors, etc., most problems are miscommunication. And so the contract is more about a scope of work. Brad's going to do this. Cole's going to do this. I'm going to do this. And this is what will happen if we do this, and we'll all get this. If we don't have that, that causes a lot of problems and frustrations. And so sign contracts with everyone. Not big, fat contracts. 1 or 2 pages explaining what you're going to do and what I'm going to do. And then the last one is be everywhere. Be omnipresent. If you're omnipresent, you put yourself in a position to get lucky. When you say, oh, some guy DM'd me and now we're doing $1 million a month, it's because of your omnipresence. It's because Brad is out there in the ether. People can find him. If he couldn't have found you, if he couldn't have DM'd you, that deal doesn't happen. So having a podcast, having a business, having speaking events, having Lightspeed, you have all these different things, you become omnipresent. And that is so important for people. And so for my children, if they just got started, signed contracts, and they were everywhere on social media and people could have access to them, they put themselves in a position to get lucky. They'll take the action and they'll protect themselves.
It's almost like the Thrive event. When you said, speak, I'm like, sure. Now I'm thinking, dude, every time I commit, you've had this discussion with me that one time at that restaurant at the district. It's like every time I commit to doing something, then I think, well, what the hell am I going to say that they haven't already heard? But then you take, get started. We've all heard that, but not many do it. Mm-hmm. We've all heard sign contract. If I didn't have a contract, I wouldn't have this place. I told you that story about my 2 buddies I gave. They tried to throw me out once it started making money, and because of the contract, they couldn't. And then be everywhere. That's the harder one. How do people be everywhere with no budget?
Well, it's the beauty of Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Google, Snapchat, LinkedIn.
Podcasts.
Free.
Get on it.
They're free, and free.
So just reach out, make comments.
But I have a question. So, Dan, that's crazy. I've known you for so long. We're business partners, and I never heard your origin story. That's rad. This chip you have on your shoulder where you say if you were given $1 billion to sit on a beach, you couldn't take it because you just have this insatiable drive of producing. And then, Brad, you obviously have had your share of success, right? You're doing great. And I know your backstory, too. With my backstory, near-death experiences and everything I went through, a question I get asked a lot is, do you need something like that, like a grudge or a chip on your shoulder to hit success? Gary Vee talks about one of his greatest assets is being an immigrant and his upbringing of having nothing in Jersey and all of that. So my question is, do you think that your living circumstances, 24 grand a year, and then single mom in a shared room of an 85-year-old person, and Brad, your story that you've shared 1,000 times and my story that I've shared 1,000 times, do you think people can be successful without having some huge chip on their shoulder that they've got to prove to the world?
I'm going to say a very crazy fact, and then it'll make you realize why. There's 6,400 people in my phone. Okay? Over 300 of them have a company that's 8 figures or higher, and a bunch of them have a $100 million plus company. Not one single person in my phone that has an 8-figure or 9-figure company came from money. I don't know a single one that even had an upper middle class or higher family. Not one.
It's interesting.
I didn't really have a chip, I don't think. I just wanted to be rich because
Well, you talk. I mean, yeah, maybe it's not a chip, but you talked about having to hide your car down the street because it was going to get repossessed.
Yeah, I've had tough times, but there was really no chip. But after it was a couple weeks ago, someone was asking me some questions where I was just throwing out the answers without, doing too much thinking. And someone said, "What's my chip?" I remember one time with my first wife, I married her, and we were kind of having problems. I was staying, I think, with her and her mom, and her sister was over one day. And it is a nice family. Like, they're not mean or anything. And one day I did something to piss them all off. I did something stupid, I'm sure. And the sister looked at me and she said, "You're a bum, and you're always going to be a bum." And I thought, maybe that's the chip. Because I still remember that day like she said it yesterday. You're a bum, and you're always going to be a bum. And I said, what the hell?
That's exactly why there shouldn't be participation trophies. We need to feel loss. We need to lose on the field. We need to lose on the court. We need people to talk shit to us.
That's actually this story. I literally just told my wife, my daughters are like in dancing and gymnastics, but nothing competes where they lose. And I was like, Sonia, I need our kids to lose so they learn how to like deal with loss, and I need them to win so they know how to win humbly. But here's my question then. Okay, Dan, you don't know a single person that's 8 or 9-figure business owner now that came from money. You're a multimillionaire. I'm doing all right financially and have made millions and millions of dollars. Are our kids screwed then? Because how do I...
Depends on if you give it to them.
My 2 little girls are growing up in an 8,000 square foot house with millions of dollars of revenue for their parents coming in every single year. They get driven around in 6-figure cars or whatever, right? And I'm not saying that to sound arrogant. That's their life. That's their reality. So are they never going to be able to develop this type of drive? And are they just going to be whatever? Because that's one of the most important things to my wife and I is to keep our kids humble. We like cars and houses, but we're not big spendy people. I'm in board shorts and flip-flops every time you see me, right? And we still have that orphanage, by the way, now 11 years later in Mexico. And my kids go down there all the time and play with the orphans. So we're doing our best to not just have them in this little Orange County multimillionaire bubble and showing them what the real world looks like. But I haven't stumbled across how to manufacture drive in them, because I've heard this one way or another that without that, I don't want to say poverty upbringing, but without that hard times, it builds resilience and drive. So what do we do for our kids? The 3 of us, like what are our kids going to do?
You do what I do.
What's that?
You don't give them shit.
Well, no. Okay.
I'm messing with you.
No. But I mean, that's true. Like my 7-year-old, she'll be like, "Oh, go buy me this." And I'm like, "No, you need to earn it." And so she gets like $20 for washing the dog and stuff. So she's understanding that she has to earn and doesn't just get stuff, right? She can't just get free things.
Yeah. Well, just because he's got 6,400 people in his phone that all make $1 zillion and none of them have ever came from rich doesn't mean it hasn't happened.
Well, of course it's happened.
I think if you raise your kids correctly and you teach them the fundamental things that usually hardship naturally teaches people, I think you can still end up a good human being coming from money.
My priorities is to make sure that my girls have a great value system, that they're amazing human beings, that they love everyone equally. Doesn't matter what color they are, who they love, who they pray to, that my little girls grow up with just wanting the world to be a better place, and giving back. But if I could get extra credit or a PS or an also, right, it would be that they have drive, because I want them to succeed financially too. I would love for them
You want them to thrive.
Exactly. I would love for them to fall in love with any man God picked for them, and even if he's a youth pastor making $20,000 a year.
Why has it got to be a man?
Well, I guess that's true too. But for now, they're both very interested in boys, which is very irritating, because I thought that little girls thought boys had cooties or germs, but mine both love boys for now. So everyone's
That's
like,
because their dad does.
You're saying, I thought you were I'm trying to keep it PG because you're trying to elevate the show, and you're the one that keeps making little dick jokes.
Hey.
By the way, everybody, Brad and I have steamed together, and this debate has already been solved. We know with certainty he's well, his t-shirts say pinky on the back for a reason. But back to my girls. Like, let's just say they love a man for now, and let's just say that he is a youth pastor hypothetically and making no money, I want them to be able to make millions too. So I don't want them to just grow up to have a great value system and amazing humans. I would love for them to be, they don't need to be multimillionaires, but not worry about money. I think that a lot of people don't reach potential because they're too busy in their minds stressing about money. If everybody listening to this podcast right now, if the conversation around money didn't exist, if that wasn't what you had to spend your brain thinking about. I mean, Mark Zuckerberg wears the same t-shirt every day because he says he doesn't want to spend any extra mental bandwidth other than production. Think about how much mental bandwidth is wasted by people stressing about money. If that wasn't there, how much more could you create, produce? How much more amazing things could you accomplish? I want that to be my daughter's reality. I don't care if they make hundreds of millions, 1 million or 20 grand. I don't care as long as they don't have to worry about money. That would be my dream goal. And growing up in, an affluent world, I just want them to still have the drive. So that was why I was asking. Just wondering what
who's the guy that said the best gift you could give a child is basically raising them in poverty?
I don't know who said that.
Very, very wealthy individual. I think probably, arguably the single greatest entrepreneur of all time. Name a few.
Gary Vee?
No, like
Brad Lea. I mean, I don't know. Are you setting yourself up here? Yeah,
no, none of us. None of us.
Entrepreneur.
Yeah, I'm talking about like back
Warren
in the day,
Buffett,
like Andrew Carnegie, which is Carnegie. Like Rockefellers, people like that. I'm talking about said it. I can't remember who said it, but one of those type of people said the best gift you can give a kid is basically making them grow up in poverty. But I think the reason why they say that is because that will teach you resilience, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It doesn't mean you can't learn any other way. I know when I die, I'm giving money to my kids, period. Like I want them to get a big-ass windfall. I'm hoping by then they will be wise enough to use it and help other people make money matter, not just blow it. But then again...
Will you give it to them in a lump sum or monthly or annual payments?
Well, 4 of them are already adults, so they'll just get lump sum. If my 2 little girls, I'll give it to mom and then a little trust for them. So when they turn 21, not 18, 21, they just get a big old fatty. Why? Because again, I mean, like if my dad died and he was rich and I found out like instead of the $90 million I was getting, I got $10,000 a month for life, I'd be fucking pissed. I'd be like, dude, like, just give me the money. What do you think? I'm an idiot? So if they were idiots, I would. Yeah.
So the guys that I know that inherited one big lump sum, they're all in rehab or in jail.
There you go.
Well, again, though, because perhaps when they got it, they didn't understand money. Like, I can promise you this. I've always asked, why did it take so long for me to get, money? And I'm still wondering, like, what the hell? Like, when am I going to get the real money? But... with that being said, I think it's because if I'd have got it any sooner, I would have too. I didn't understand. Just started understanding
I got
recently.
Stories about these guys that have just inherited the money. I mean, they're...
Well, you hang out with a lot of celebs, don't you?
They're dead, in jail or rehab.
You hang out with a bunch of celebs. Not hang out, but you know a bunch. What do you think? Like child actors, same thing.
All of the child actors I know or influencers that got big from social media are literally psychotic or drug users or in rehab or gone to jail. So
would you recommend people give their kids a trust instead?
I think it's much better to do monthly payments. It's okay to give them some lump sum. Let's say you're going to they're going to inherit $10 million. If you want to give them $1 or $2 million up front and then do monthly payments, that's fine. If you hand somebody $10 million, they will go through it. Look at 85% of athletes are bankrupt within 5 years. 85%.
Yeah.
That's
because they don't understand money.
Their sport, yeah, it's true.
What would you do?
Nobody understands money. That's the problem. Where are they going to learn it? High school and college doesn't teach it to you.
You can learn it by losing it. That's how I learned.
Right. The problem is,
what would I do?
The problem is, if you don't have the skills to make it back, then what? That's like all these athletes.
Well, then they go to 100 Million Academy.
Amen.
A 10 Thrive.
Yeah, I was just gonna say 10thrive.com. What would I do? A little controversial. The only family that pops in my mind right now because of political climate we're in is the Trump family. Remove politics. I want to include my children in the empire we as a family are building in important roles that they will have to earn where they are well compensated. So if I die, that's a different conversation because I'm out of the picture and money will be distributed, and that'll be a conversation I have to have with my wife, right? And then hypothetically, is she still here, or did we both go down? And so there's a lot of variables. But assuming I get a long life to live, as opposed to just giving my kids a huge check or a monthly allowance, I would want to include them in roles within the family organization that they are challenged by and feel fulfilled with and love, in a way that sets them up to make stupid amounts of money based off their earned income. Like, they're earning it. They're not just getting it. I think that would be cool. Some of the families you talked about earlier, the Rockefellers and Carnegie, or whatever you said, Carnegie's. I think that when you look at that in history, that's what I would want to do. I wouldn't want to just say, hey, little girls, go be rotten little shits, and here's a lot of money for you. I'd be like, hey, daddy and mommy are changing the world. We've got these businesses. Here's some roles for you guys. Start as a janitor, work your way up, and ultimately take over the family business. And now you've earned your tens of millions of dollars you get, and they understand and appreciate money. But there was something I wanted to ask on a whole different subject off of children, and that's something that you talked about before this podcast started. You got a random DM from a dude, which isn't unusual. A lot of dudes DM you. You should see this guy's inbox, Dan. It's it's bad. And so, but eggplants in real form, right? And so for some reason, you tell this guy to hop on a plane. He's a stranger. You spend the day with him, and now you're generating $1 million a month in revenue from that. What do you two do to differentiate between shiny object syndrome and smart business moves? Like, for instance, Brad, you were probably busy already making tens of millions of dollars when homeboy sent you a DM. What was it about that opportunity that you decided to allocate time and bandwidth towards it to pursue it? Because I have a lot on my table right now, and part of me is like, oh man, is this shiny object syndrome? Like, I'm doing so much, but at the same time, everything I'm doing is very calculated. It's complementary to what I'm already doing, whether it be through relationship capital or in my existing businesses. So that's a question that comes up every now and then. How do you know when you should say no to an opportunity? How do you know when you should say yes? And I want to ask you guys, what filter or boxes have to be checked, or what system do you do to evaluate opportunity to know that it's complementary and not shiny object syndrome that'll take away from something you're already doing?
Well, I'll go first.
All right.
Number one, I teach people and believe strongly the more hands you shake, the more money you make. Period.
100%.
Now, you can assess an opportunity in 5-10 minutes of conversating. If you're not having a conversation, you're not doing business. Business is really just conversation. So you have to start the conversation in order to have conversation. And I want as many conversations as I can. I can quickly end a conversation. But when he says, hey, can I fly down there and spend some time with you? That to me is a handshake. That's an opportunity. That's a conversation. I could end it if I needed to, but I'm almost with I forget what they call it. It's some syndrome where you think you'll miss out. FOMO. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think I have FOMO. Based on, I know the more hands you shake, the more money you make. You go to a party when you don't want to go to a party, and you meet people at the party. Next thing you know, something happened great at the party. Same thing at a pool party. I know you don't like to go to pool because of the tattoo you have on the small of your back. Everyone sees it and makes fun of you. But whenever you go to a pool party, you end up freaking meeting people, having fun. So that's my answer. The reason why I do it is subconsciously, I think,
right, well,
FOMO. But really, because dudes, you have just get started. That's the same thing. Just say yes. That's mine.
All right, but let me go further then to get back to the root question. So you've shaken 10 hands, had 10 conversations, all have meat on the bone. Which one do you pursue? Like, that's the question is, outside of entertaining conversations, how do you know, damn, I'm going to put money and energy and effort into this? This sounds cool, not interested. What do you guys do for that?
Well, intuition for me, I mean, sounds fun. Intuition aligns. People, I have to like, which opportunity do I like the people better than the other ones? Because you're going to make mistakes, at least in my opinion. I always have, and I don't think I could have stopped that. But in retrospect, it's 2020. What's your answer?
So I turned down most everything simply due to the sheer quantity. Mm-hmm. I have 36 companies I've invested in, and 36 sounds like a lot, but it's been 7 years. So it's really only 4 to 6 times a year do I say yes, out of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of offers. The main thing I look for is the quarterback. Who is the person that's going to run it? Because I'm not running it. When an opportunity comes up, Brad gets a deal to do something in Oregon. The first thing I ask him is, does the guy you're working with live in Oregon? Because you don't live in Oregon. I need a quarterback for the project. That's my number one. I'm betting on the person that they can execute it and pivot. Because
the jockey.
Yeah. and be able to pivot in case it doesn't work out, because a lot of things don't work out or they change. Will that person who started with this be able to adjust in a new climate?
Well, that's his last question. What's your answer to his first question, which was basically how do you know which ones to even look into?
So I research the person. That's literally the first thing I do is I look at whether it's their social media, I find out about them. I do a little bit of cyber stalking and see who they're posting with, working with, what they've done. I want to know about them before I even entertain the conversation. Otherwise, I either don't respond or I make it very blunt. I had a guy come by the sports card shop yesterday. I've known him for years. In a matter of 20 minutes, he brought up 6 different things that we should do together. And I'm sitting this close to him, said no, 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 and no. That's awkward, right? He's literally sitting like shoulder to shoulder with me on a little couch.
Was this sound effect going on every time?
That's what his face looked like every time. He literally looked like he was going to cry. And I did it because I'm preventing later where you know what most people in Hollywood do? They talk, and they act like they're going to do it with you, and then nothing ever happens. Oh, yeah, I'm going to invest in your company. And they drag you on for 3 months, and they never invest because they don't have the money or they were never going to do it. I don't do that. I tell you bluntly, I'm either not going to invest or I'll introduce you to somebody that might. Hey, we should do a joint venture. I'm going to open up this business together. I'm going to open up a coffee shop and donuts. Great. I'm not going to do that with you. But maybe my friend over here, Aaron Wagner, he owns 100 restaurants. He'll do it with you. I'm just really blunt up front because I don't want to get dragged into the next 3 to 6 months of you following up with me when I'm not going to do it.
That's funny. I actually saw that. 3 months ago, I asked him to invest in a real estate deal. He said no and connected me to, I forget who, but someone else. And then I said, hey, let's partner on Thrive. And you said yes. So I've been on the no and the yes end of Dan. So I could vouch.
Because I don't want to drag him on. I'm not good at investing in real estate. That's why I'm making a real estate mastermind so I can meet people and learn about it, and then I'll feel comfortable. I invest in startups. So I said, hey, I got a guy who's a zillionaire. He'll invest into it, and maybe you guys can work it out.
Yeah.
And so I just like to be as blunt as possible in advance to protect both of our times for the long term.
What if someone says you're a dick? What a dick. Didn't even hear me out. Just said no.
Totally fine.
Yeah.
I'll sleep at night perfectly. Because I'm actually doing it better for them. I do it much more for them. Think about it. I have to hurt my ego because they're calling me a jerk, but I'm just preventing and protecting their time. That's all I'm doing it for. Doesn't help me.
Yeah, people have to get better at saying no. Although I did hear you one time on stage give a little tip that was kind of funny where you said, say yes to everything. You said, if someone says, hey, can you invest this? Say, yeah, send me a business plan. Because you said most of them won't send it anyway.
Same exact concept. Hundreds and hundreds of people say, will you invest into my company? I say, yes, send me your business plan. I'm putting it on them because I know they're not going to send me their business plan.
They won't take action.
They won't do it. And then if they do, which they don't, then I have another hoop for them to jump through. And if they go through 3 or 4 hoops, I do want to invest or I do want to take a serious look at it. But most of the time, they don't have a corporation or a bank account or a business plan or any of the basics done. So I get to be the nice guy and just say, yeah, sure, send me your business plan. And then they just fade away into the ether.
Now, Cole, what's your answer to the 3 things? You've got to hang out with a lot of people, because when you put on events, by the way, folks, if any of you can afford to, put on an event. It, number one, takes a lot more work than you think. But the cool part is when you are the one in charge of speaking, everybody floods your inbox once it's a big one. But again, you're putting on a real event. You can start getting, next to these people that speak. Eric Thomas, good dude. Like you could text him. You reach out to a lot of people. Let's just say you're connected. What's the 3 things that you would give to your kids? 3 tidbits that you want them to execute on.
So it's a little different. It would be both business and life. So this is just 3 pieces of advice for my kids to succeed in the world.
You can only give them 3, and then you're dead, and you can't say anything else. So just 3 things.
First thing I would remind them: this is your one shot at life. Make it count. That would be for my kids, right? It would be different advice.
Make it count.
Yeah, I would say, dude, ladies, like this is it. Don't tiptoe through life and arrive at your grave safely. Do something that matters. Do like whatever that is. It doesn't have to be at scale. You don't have to end poverty or end hunger, but do something that when you look back on your life, you live a life you are proud of with no regrets. So that would be my first thing for my baby girls is remember this is your one shot, make it count, and don't play it safe. Play all out. The second thing I would say when it comes to your professions is don't live to work, work to live, if that makes sense. And so what I always tell people is a lot of individuals I know through my network, built businesses and then somewhere along the way lived to support their business, right? They've got to schedule their life around the appointments their business requires for it to keep making money. And I think that's backwards. I think that we should design our dream lives and then run our businesses around it. I got one of the best compliments ever. Last week I was at a lunch meeting. We were eating salads and I ordered a beer. And the guy laughed. He's like, "You're going to drink beer in a meeting?" I was like, "Why wouldn't I?" And he's like, "You know what, Cole, I got to say, of everyone I follow, you're the only one that when I watch you on social media, every day looks like you're on vacation. I don't actually even know when you're working." And I was like, "You know what? That's probably a really good compliment that you can't even tell when I'm working or having fun," right? Aaron Wagner and I had a similar conversation. So I would tell my girls, hey, you need to create what I call absolute truths. And I have these in my life. And any opportunity that comes, and this is why I asked you guys the question of what you would or wouldn't do. I have 11 absolute truths, and I will never take an opportunity unless it checks every single one of those boxes, and I will not compromise. Because ultimately, everyone starts a business because of the freedom and the lifestyle they think it creates. But oftentimes, people running their businesses wish that they had a job where they could call in sick or take vacation and completely unplug. And they end up being owned by their business. They don't own their business anymore. So the next thing I would tell my girls is create a dream life. What type of freedom do you want? What type of travel do you want? What do you want to be room moms? Like, I love that I'm the only dance dad ever at dance class. It's a bunch of moms. There's not another dude there. At 11 o'clock on a Tuesday, I don't miss. And so what does your dream life look like? Then observe the world of free enterprise and find industries or businesses or ideas that will complement that lifestyle. So one of my absolute truths is autonomy. Brad, if you said, "Cole, I'll pay you $100 million a year to come here, but you have to live in Vegas. You have to be in this office 6 days a week, 10 hours a day, 60 hours a week, and you're going to make $100 million a year for the next 10 years. I would tell you no, because that's in direct violation of the quality of life I want, and I wouldn't be able to live that life if I'm here 6 days a week.
Why can't you just do it for 6 months?
No, I wouldn't do it. I just wouldn't. I wouldn't. Well, okay.
You like your freedom.
Well, for 6 months, if that was a part of the life plan, right? My wife and I would have to figure that out. But ultimately, you get what I'm saying. Autonomy is one of 11 that has to check all these boxes. Another one for more context in a different direction is I will only say yes to income opportunities that make my daughters proud. I had the opportunity to invest in an app that went off to do well. It's not Tinder, but it's a hookup app where it uses geo-targeting, and it's just for like casual hookups, right? That's it. And these people are like, dude, think about how popular this is going to be. You go to a new town, you open it, you meet somebody, you do what you're going to do. And I was like, okay, this thing will probably work, sadly, because of the society and culture we're in. Let's say that I put in $100,000 and it turns into $100 million, and my little girls grow up someday and say, "Daddy, where did all your money come from?" How am I going to explain that it came from an app that I hope to God they never use, that causes divorce and ends marriages because people are cheating on each other? Like, I just didn't want to be a part of that. So it was autonomous. I was uninvolved. I was a passive investor if I had taken the opportunity. It checked almost all the boxes except, would it have made my daughters proud? And so that's one of my absolute truths. I will never do it, and I will never create money that doesn't make my girls proud. So that's an example. So I would tell them, oh, thanks. Jeez, how long does that last? Longer than you.
You can talk through it.
And so first is make sure that you remember your life. This is your only life, so make it count. Don't tiptoe and arrive at your grave. Crush it. Number 2 would be, don't get stuck just working for your career, like trying to fit life in around your career. Make sure that you have this dream life and your career supports it. And then the third thing would be, I've got a million ideas, but if it's my daughters, it's so personal. The third thing I would say is I would say decide who you're going to be in your value system and don't ever compromise, right? Don't date a guy ever who maybe wants you to look differently and then you start dressing differently, acting differently, like, if that makes sense. Don't be in a relationship with girlfriends when you're a teenager in early 20s where you have this pressure to wear these clothes or say these things or travel to these places or try these things. I would say create your value system, put it in concrete, and do not bend. That's what I would tell my little girls. I would say, don't ever become somebody else for someone else to fit in with a group of girls or to make a guy love you. Don't. Just decide who you're going to be. Do not break. Do not waver. And, you'll be a lot happier in the end for being authentic, for being who you really are. Do you know how much criticism I get showing up to business meetings in board shorts and flip-flops? I don't give a shit. I don't. Because, it's not going to cost me income. And if someone's going to judge me from that, then we shouldn't have been doing business together. So I try my best to be myself. And actually, to a fault, I actually have my wife in parents ask me, like, can you please, Cole, like, be a little bit more restrained. But like, I am always me, always with everyone, and I like that. And so I would tell my daughters to do the same thing too. So a little bit different advice, not necessarily success or life, but I mean, from my baby girls, dude, it's a little personal, and that's what I would tell them.
Folks, you heard it from two folks that get to hear a lot from a lot. That's the thing, is when you have a network of people that you can tap into. A lot of people don't even tap into it. What would you say about like learning? Any books, anything other than Thrive, of course, next weekend?
Yep.
Attendthrive.com, get your tickets. But other than Thrive, how do people get, the latest and greatest knowledge?
So, believe it or not, podcasts, what we're doing right now, I would, like, if somebody's, Cole, I hate my job, I'm an accountant in a cubicle, no natural light, I need to quit and start my own job. What should I start to do? 100% what Dan said. There's so much free content, Brad. I mean, one compliment, it pains me to say it, is that you put out so much free content. If somebody was to truly follow you and do what you and your guests say and not have success, it's because they're not getting started. Dan's first point, right? Like, I hate it. It almost hurts that this is coming out of my mouth, but you are one of the people in the space that gives out more free content than anyone else out there. And there's a lot of people like you. So I would say start with the free stuff. Go get the podcast app in your phone, subscribe to 4 or 5 people, and listen with the intent of applying. Don't just listen because you're at the gym and you're like, oh, I could be listening to rap right now, but I'm listening to Brad Lea, so I'm being productive. Well, not if you didn't do anything. You just wasted your time having Brad yap in your ear. So listen to these podcasts for free with the intention of applying them. Obviously, books, I mean, you look at really successful people, and reading is usually a common denominator. You've got Gary Vee, who says he's written more books than he's read, but that's really the minority. Most incredibly wealthy and successful people who have what I would say is happiness as well are big readers. And that's been a learning curve for me. I'm not a great reader. I have so much ADD that I'll read every word on the page, but I'm thinking about wakeboarding the whole time. And I literally will read the page, but have no idea what I just read because I wasn't processing the information. I was daydreaming about getting behind my boat or something, right? And so
getting behind something.
Oh, dude, I thought we were keeping it PG. Dude, are we elevating the show or not, man? Because I let you have all kinds of things about you.
You shot 3 my way, and I didn't say a word, so I just had to pop one back there.
So that's that. And that's assuming there is no budget. Now, let's just say that this person's getting started is well off. Let's just say that they're a plastic surgeon that doesn't want to put fake boobs in anymore and they want a career change. Then I would recommend getting into something like Dan because, like you mentioned, handshakes creates opportunity. When every single person in the freaking room paid $100,000 to be there, minimum, or they're a multi-millionaire or billionaire instructor, like, there isn't a hand not worth shaking there. And for those of you just getting started that don't have that kind of money, it's not to say that your hand isn't worth shaking either, but that's why you pay $100,000. No offense to Dan or his instructors. I'll bet you if you stalked them, you would get all the same information for free on the internet. I say that openly about Thrive. When my speakers come to Thrive, if you listen to enough podcast appearances, and if you listen to enough of their Instagram stories, and if you listen to enough or read enough of their books, you'll get all the same content. You don't even need to pay me to come to Thrive. What makes Thrive valuable is it's all their best content all at once at the same time. So you get this diversity of speakers and input all at once, right?
Yeah.
But so
unless they're
event,
like me and they bring new stuff every time.
Well, sure. But
I don't do the same speech twice.
That's good. So for Dan, in this example, people paying $100,000, I would say, aren't like, okay, I can't wait for a speaker to create $100,000 worth of value for me. What it is, okay, I can't wait to meet my next new business partner. I mean, legitimately, I know Anthony and Adrian Morrison through Ty Lopez and just through our circles overlapping, but it was at his event, the 100 Mil Mastermind, where I had a really long chat with those guys. And I've now partnered with Anthony Morrison, and we're going to be doing stuff that's making us millions of dollars together. Only happened because I shook his hand at the Porsche Center, Experience Center at Dan's event. And so if you're just getting started and have no money, free content. There's a lot of people like Brad out there that will teach you stuff that they should be charging you for free. And if you've got some money, I would join a mastermind, 100%. It doesn't have to be the 100 mil. I've had a mastermind the last 6 years. It's only $25,000 a year, but whatever you can afford. And then there's online digital masterminds like 100 Mil Academy. It's $100 a month. So if you've got a little bit of money to spend, I would pay to put yourself in proximity of people that are moving and shaking. I have no shame in admitting that I buy friendships and buy relationships. That's what I do at Thrive. Like you were talking about Eric Thomas. Took me 3 years to even get the guy to respond. We requested him since Thrive number 1. We got him on Thrive number 4. I couldn't get a hold of the guy.
And you wouldn't have got him again if he didn't like you.
Exactly. Yes. And so I paid, I don't know if I'm supposed to say, but
I wouldn't even say it.
yeah,
Or you might not get him again.
A lot of money. No, for the first year. He's has no shame. I don't pay him anymore because we're friends, right? But that first year, I paid a lot of money. He is the largest speaker fee I've actually ever paid in the history of Thrive to get him there because I told my wife, once he's here, we'll be friends. I know it. Like, I just need to get in his proximity because he's a pastor. I was a missionary. Like, we have so much congruencies in how we live our lives and what we're creating in the world. I was like, just get me near him. Sure enough, he even said that he just felt, without getting too religious, he's like, dude, like, I felt God a part of this relationship. I think there's a big thing for us in the future. Fast forward, that was in May. By that December, he and his family spent Christmas with me. I'm not joking. They came to my home. They live in Michigan. They flew to Southern California, got an Airbnb, and at my kitchen table, actually it was more in the dining room, for Christmas, Eric Thomas, the hip-hop preacher himself, prayed and blessed our meal for our family. And like, we are boys now. Like, we are tight. And so I have no shame in admitting that was on purpose. And that when I paid for Eric Thomas to come to my event, it was to make an incredible impact on my attendees, obviously, and he did. But it was to get him in my proximity so I could bro out with the guy. Fast forward now, dude, we text and send each other video messages all the time to just check on each other and see how each other are doing. And we've done a lot of business together. I helped him launch his 1% event. So bottom line is, I have no shame in admitting that I literally pay to get people in my proximity. I could use a couple of other examples of mutual friends of ours, but I won't because I don't know how they would feel about hearing that on this. But that's the deal. You got to pay to play. And it's not shallow. It's not superficial because then I bring value to the relationship. Like if you had a mastermind, Brad, and I knew that I had this opportunity of owning an RV park with you or whatever it is you're buying right now, I'd be like, all right, I'm going to buy Brad's mastermind because chances are I'll meet some cool people. I might learn a thing or two. But if I spend 3 days with Brad, I'm going to catch him at the coffee table. We're going to bro out for 15 minutes. I'm going to be able to plant the seed for a follow-up. I'm going to fill that guy up with so much value that when Brad reflects on his 3 days of running his mastermind, Cole's name's at the top of the list of his best experience, and I'm going to seal that deal. And that's how, people say, other than this guy right here, Cole, you have the coolest, craziest network of anyone I know. Like, I don't know if you hear that on your end, Dan, but everyone's like, other than Dan, you know everybody, Cole. Like, I can't think of anyone who's more well-connected. It's because I've been strategic of getting in proximity of badasses and then not being a taker, but being a giver. Not being like, hey, you should do this, you should do that. Of just literally overwhelming them with value where they have to respond like, how can I help you back?
You know everybody in real estate mostly, but do you know D's?
What, D's nuts?
That's right.
No, nobody knows them. They're missing people on milk cartons because you haven't had nuts for quite some time, sir.
Hey, speaking of which, let's just ask one question before we wrap it up because I know you guys have flights, shit to do.
Yeah.
What do you guys think's going on with COVID? Do you think that's going to end? Do you think it's political? You think it's real? What do you think?
Who's it? All right, that's 100% real. I have friends that have it literally this very second, so it's not fake, but it is very political. And the politicians and media like to say, look at the science, look at the numbers. When I look at the data and the science and the numbers, there's a lot of other stuff we live with that's way more dangerous. So
without masks and lockdowns
is coronavirus real? Is us 100% it's real. And anybody that denies it and says it's a hoax is just an idiot. It is very, very real. However, now that we aren't freaking out in March, because we made a lot of long-term decisions in March, I don't think we should have. We all decided as a society that we would allow our government to tell us it was this scary and to just believe them and to not be able to fact check them ourselves, right? And then so fast forward to now that we have months and months of global data collectively, we see that it isn't quite as horrible as we thought.
Not even close.
And again, I understand some of you be like, oh, Cole, screw you. I had to be on a ventilator. Guys, I get it, but that's no worse than pneumonia. Like that's no worse than other diseases that are out there where you need to be on ventilators, if that makes sense. Or tuberculosis, 1.5 million cases a year of tuberculosis. You got to wear a mask for that. So what I'm getting at before I get flooded with DMs of all the haters out there is coronavirus is real. We did what we needed to do and we thought everyone was going to die like it was the bubonic plague. Fast forward 9 months of data now, we can compare it to other diseases that have always been around that we live with every single day. And I think that it is now a political thing that we are still requiring masks. I mean, walking through the casino last night, Dan and I, you can't get 5 feet without someone yelling at me to put a mask on. I think that's all crap. And they're just doing their job because I was literally telling this to Dan. Now it's becoming a cover your ass thing. We're going to host Thrive virtual, but we're going to have about 200 people with us. Our just friend, like I'm bringing 100 of my friends. He's bringing 100 of his friends. I don't think there's room for you. Sorry, Brad. But that being said, we're going to have people. And I was literally telling Dan, dude, if someone comes here and they catch coronavirus on the airplane, However, they think they got it from us. What are we going to do to protect ourselves? So you got to do waivers, and we're going to have to require masks. So I think a lot of it also, to give some leniency to these businesses that are acting like assholes, is they're just like, dude, we're going to check every box and make you wear masks and take your temperature when you're at the door and this and that. So heaven forbid a customer gets it, we can say we did everything we needed to do to keep ourselves safe and avoid lawsuits. And that's literally what I told Dan and my wife last night. The only thing I'm afraid of right now of coronavirus is the legal implications, not catching it, not the virus itself. I'm afraid of what it would do in business and in lawsuits. That's the only thing I'm afraid of at this point of coronavirus.
Boy, Cole, I could listen to you all day, and for a minute, I thought I was going to have to.
Well, lucky for you.
Dan,
I wrapped up.
what's your thoughts?
I believe in the greater good, meaning we're something that has a 99-to-1 ratio, 99% survival rate, but you can't survive homelessness and millions of businesses going away, and it emotionally impacts me. Like, even thinking about it, I get emotional about watching entire shopping centers decimated, entire high-rises empty, because the businesses are shut down and they're not coming back.
So if you were president, would you say, open the shit up?
Absolutely.
What about you?
Of course.
I'm just wondering why they don't.
It's politics. You already said it.
I know, but then that means the Democrats or whoever's doing it, the left, the right, whoever's doing it is more powerful than the other side. Because let's say I'm a Republican, I'm the president, my whole Republican staff, the House, all the Reds say we're going to unlock, and you're saying it's political. They won't let us. So you're saying the Democrats are more powerful?
No, so let me answer that without getting into the politics. There are 7 states now in America that have reopened. Florida just announced last week that they're no longer requiring any type of coronavirus, social distancing, mask wearing. Idaho's done it. There's a bunch. I live in California, and we have a Democratic majority state. I think there's like 6 Republican politicians and all the rest are Democrats. Dude, you get a ticket for walking down the street without wearing a mask. So you've got certain states that say we are doing nothing for coronavirus anymore. It's like back to 2019. It's like it doesn't exist. In my state, you get a ticket for being on a sidewalk with no one else near you and not wearing a mask on. And so to your point, because there's the federal government, and obviously we all know how Trump feels about this, but then there's state government as well. And it's not that one's more powerful than the other. It's just that when your state governor says, if you want to be in business, you need to require your people to do this, and you got to deal with it. But that's why California is the biggest exodus right now it's had in a long time.
Yeah, so folks, here's what I'll leave you with. Make sure you get out there and vote, even though I technically don't think it counts when it's for president. That's just my belief. I think the Electoral College decides. But get out there and vote, and more importantly, vote for local government. And that's how you can make a difference. Do your part, take action. Folks, I appreciate you sharing this out with people. And Cole, Dan, appreciate you guys coming up here. attendthrive.com. Go get your tickets next week. There'll be a lineup of speakers. That was just a few. And just in case you guys didn't catch who that is, like, Billy Jean, if you have a business, you want to learn how to market, that dude's like the guru of digital marketing. Tom Bilyeu, he did Quest bars. He kind of did what you did, dude. I asked him the other day, what was the one thing? He said all the protein bars tasted like ass. So he just made a better tasting bar. You made a better tasting drink.
Dude, better mousetrap.
Better mousetrap, folks. If you want to freaking make $1 million, solve 1 million problems, but start with one, man. Look to solve problems. That's all I got for today, folks. I wish I could keep you guys here all MFing day, but I know you got flights. Appreciate you coming.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks, bro.
All right, guys. Until next time, keep it real.